Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Shawn Carlson, and I want to welcome you to the very first video of my new YouTube channel. I'm a physicist and a longtime science writer and innovator in education, and it is my mission in life to inspire people to love learning science, to love doing science themselves, and to spread that passion to others. Everything I do in this channel is all about expanding that mission. Not only do I hold a PhD in physics, but I'm also a passionate promoter of citizen science as well as an award-winning educator. That means that I'm going to be dividing my time here between sharing insights into the latest discoveries on the frontiers of knowledge, showing you how you can do cutting science yourself, and revealing the most effective approaches currently known to teach STEM to others. That's science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So whether you're a STEMophile, a citizen scientist of any age or ability, or a STEM educator yourself, you are definitely going to want to subscribe to my channel. I like to tell my students that an education in science and technology is nothing less than the power to transform the entire world with a single idea. And that's why my greatest passion is to help my fellow educators put that power into the hands of every one of their students who is willing to work hard enough to take it. So I've decided to kick off my channel with a presentation I made to the California After School Network a while back. It provides a brief introduction to my own approach to teaching STEM that I call engagement education. Engagement education focuses on creating powerful emotional connections between young people and those things that are most important to creating lifelong learners. And I think you'll find some very useful insights into how to inspire the young people in your life to love learning about science and technology. I hope you enjoy it.
I want to welcome you to this brief introduction to engagement education. I am Shawn Carlson, known to my students affectionately, I hope, as Dr. Shawn, and I'm going to talk to you today about how to create a culture in your after-school programs that naturally tilts the landscape in a way that tends to move young people towards ever higher levels of engagement in STEM learning. Culture is clearly foundational to learning. It is no accident that Asian Americans, Indian Americans, the affluent, and Jewish Americans produce more doctors, lawyers, scientists, and other professionals per capita than do other cultures in the United States. Now, I once was the only non-Jew in an old Jewish Boy Scout troop, and I asked one of my fellow scouts about this, and he said that it was because when a Jewish mother first places the bottle into her baby's mouth, she says, "Drink, my little darling, you need to build up your strength for when you go to college." And of course, we all laughed, but my friend had made a serious point. Jewish culture highly values education. It's a culture of the college bound because Jewish children grow up with the expectation that they will pursue education beyond high school, and that expectation produces results. I say the fundamental law of learning has to be that learning follows interest and interest follows engagement. Engagement is not an intellectual thing. It's about creating strong, positive emotional connections. So engagement education is about giving kids an experience every single day that makes them feel good about themselves, their classmates, and their teachers so that they love coming back to your program. There are three different kinds of engagement that educators need to stay focused on. The first is social engagement, which is a strong emotional bond between a learner and her peers. The next is custodial engagement, which means a strong positive emotional connection between a learner and her adult caregivers. And finally, there's intellectual engagement, which is a strong emotional connection between a learner and what is being learned. So let's talk about how to create intellectual engagement. What may be the number one approach to engaging kids in STEM these days is the promise that science is fun. Unfortunately, science isn't fun, not always. I mean, yeah, you want to make science as fun as you can, absolutely, but you never want to give students a false impression. If you sell science as fun, then as soon as they get to the hard work, they're going to feel like somebody's pulled the football out from underneath them. So make science learning as fun as you can, but never sell science as fun. What we need is a way to inspire serious-minded children to become engaged in STEM and to be prepared to do the hard work necessary to be successful. So how should we engage kids in STEM? Let's start with a real world example. Do you know what the most asked question is on the first day of 8th grade algebra? That's right. It's why am I here? When am I ever going to need this stuff? In other words, they're asking the adult question, what's in it for me? And how do we usually answer them? By making it all about their future jobs, careers, opportunities in the distant future. But this is what they hear a very long time from now, so long from now that they can't even imagine it. Some of this stuff that you're going to sweat bullets to learn in my class might possibly be useful to you in some future career that you don't even know that you want yet. Now, sure, some of them may understand that argument intellectually, but it isn't the kind of thing that puts fire in the belly that it takes to do the hard work necessary to learn today's lesson. Fortunately, there is a much better way to do it. The secret is to take a lesson from the field of persuasion science. When a young person asks, what's in it for me? What they really want to know is, how will doing this now make me feel better about myself today? The most effective way to motivate young people to do anything is to make a strong, emotionally charged appeal to their immediate self interest. So, to motivate kids to learn STEM, we need to fundamentally change how we talk about science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Now, how do we do that? By distilling the entire scientific enterprise down to a short list of 5 essential insights that really resonate with our students. Question number 1, why should I learn this stuff? Number 2, what is science? Number 3, what is doing science all about? Number 4, what makes a scientist a scientist? And finally, question number 5, what is the scientist's motto? I present these as questions because they were originally developed from questions I kept hearing from my best students throughout the pilot phase of the Lab Rats program. So here is the algebra question again. Why should I learn this stuff? The answer? Because an education in science and technology is nothing less than the power to transform the entire world with a single idea. Is that right? That's exactly what it is. So first, you convince your students of that, and then you ask, do you, and I mean you personally, want that power? And most of your students will say yes. Then you say, well, then welcome to algebra, because the purpose of this class, because my mission in life is to put that power into your hands if you will take it. And that all begins with algebra. Now, that is a really powerful message. And in fact, all of these questions can be answered in very powerful emotional, motive ways. So let's talk about what is science. The best way, I think, to describe what science is for our students is to say that science is everything we know. And I mean absolutely every single thing we know about the physical universe and how we know it. Science is both facts and process. And while we tend to focus on the facts of science in our education, it is the process of science, the doing of science, where the true power of science lies. So then, what is doing science all about? There's a lot of confusion here. Simply put, doing science is all about making sure you're not fooling yourself. Now, just think about it. Everything we do in science is all about making sure we're not fooling ourselves. Why do we make measurements? Because we know our senses are easily fooled and they're not very accurate. Why do we use control groups? Because we don't want some effect that we haven't thought about to sneak in under the radar and mess up our answer. Why do we use statistics? Because we need to know not only the best estimate the data allows us to make of nature's true value, but we must also know how much confidence we can have in that answer. Why do we require results to be independently verified in different laboratories? Because we know anybody can make a mistake. So everything we do in science is all about making sure we're not fooling ourselves. And what's so great about that? Well, if you get good at making sure you're not fooling yourself, then you're going to fool yourself a whole lot less often than those who are not good at it. And that's going to give you a tremendous advantage in life. The next thing everybody needs to understand is what makes a scientist a scientist. Lots of people say that all children are natural scientists because they are all naturally curious, but that's completely wrong. Doing science is all about making sure you're not fooling yourself, and that means that true science begins not with mere curiosity, but with knowing that you can easily fool yourself and believe into believing all kinds of things that just aren't true. Most people come to conclusions very quickly and then defend their opinions against any and all evidence to the contrary. We all know this, we see it all the time. But a scientist is a person who understands that reliable knowledge begins with self skepticism. Scientists know that they don't have all the answers, and therefore, many of the ideas and opinions that they have today must be wrong. They know that they can only develop a truer understanding of the world if they are driven by the conviction that the truth is more important to them than any viewpoint they may presently have. A person becomes a scientist, therefore, the moment she makes a deep personal commitment to always put the data before her personal dogma and to always be ready to change her mind when presented with sufficient, credible evidence. Finally, many of my best students have asked questions about motivation, how to get started doing science themselves. To answer these sorts of questions, I create what I, immodestly, I must admit, call the scientist's motto. Then the motto is investigate, do the experiment. The idea behind this is that no human being has the authority to declare what is true. In science, all authority lies exclusively with the data. Therefore, you should tell your students repeatedly, you have the power to discover the truth for yourself. Use it. Now let's talk about how to create social engagement in your classroom. America's diversity may well be our greatest strength, but it's proven to be a daunting challenge for public education. The biggest challenge here are the so called cultural collisions, where the cultural expectations regarding behavior and self image inside the home conflict with those inside the school. Many scholars believe that these mismatches could well be the main driver behind the staggering dropout rates of blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. The solution would seem to be to broaden the classroom's culture enough so that every child feels welcome and respected. And of course, the easiest place to do that is going to be in the after school world. After going through the literature and doing a lot of our own research, we divided the key elements that are necessary for this into six broad categories, which we call the sixfold way. Most of these are things, of course, that you well know, but I'm going to take a moment to call out a couple of them just for your own special interest. Of course, a lot can be done with collaboration, and I just wanted to point out two of the elements on this list. First is the teams approach, where you use the same kids come together and form a team with a unique identity, a name, a sigil, their own leaders, and so forth throughout the entire program. That structure seemed to work a lot better than if you're constantly creating new teams every with every activity. The other thing that didn't surprise us because we read it in the literature, but does seem to surprise a lot of people, is the importance of segregating these teams by gender. In other words, you want all the boys in one set of teams and all the girls in their own teams. And of course, the research shows that girls tend to demur in the presence of strong males who they find attractive. They don't want to look too smart, and men don't want to look too stupid, and so they sometimes don't give everything as well. And when we did this, we found that the girls almost always outperformed the boys on all of the projects and programs. The other elements involve including competition, a structure we call carrot-only education, in which we only give rewards for success, we never punish for failure, introducing and creating youth leaders, as well as a merit-based advancement system, much like the Boy Scouts have, and of course, using science towards a higher purpose or creating projects that the kids find socially relevant. Next, we want to talk about creating custodial engagement. Now, not everybody can do this job. In after school programs, personality is actually often much more important than teaching credentials, especially for an engagement educator. To be really successful, the adult in front of the room has to have all of the following qualities. Basically, they have to be very high energy, they have to be mission driven, they have to be empathetic, they have to be very calm no matter what's going on around them, they have to be a very natural and powerful leader so that they make strong role models, and they always have to be very passionate about improving their skills as an educator. So then, how do you want your students to see you? Yeah, it should be a lot like this guy. You want your students to look up to you, to admire you, to want to be like you. You want them to see you as a superhero. And do you know which educators come closest to being superheroes in the minds of their students? Yeah, it's these guys and gals. And why is this so? Because of the coaching culture. Coaches have a high code of honor that they hold themselves and their students to. They care about the whole athlete, not just how they happen to be doing on the field. They teach leadership and teamwork. They inspire their students to always strive for excellence, both on the field and off. And they use sport as a metaphor for success in life. These are things that virtually no STEM educators do. But why not? I would argue that we can do exactly the same thing in STEM and especially in after school STEM programs. What should the code of honor for STEM look like? Well, I think it should be taken directly from the process of science itself. This is the lab rat's credo. And I think that you'll agree that if any young person were to live their life according to this set of rules, they're going to do okay. Finally, I want to remind you that you are never alone in this work. There are literally millions of people out there who care about this problem and who would love to give back to their own communities. If only they knew where they could go to make a difference. Seek them out. Let them contribute to the culture of your program. Let your students see them, experience their passion firsthand, admire them, and want to be like them. Let their passion infect your students to create a culture of lifelong learning, a culture of the college bound. I hope you've enjoyed this brief introduction to engagement education, and I hope that I've inspired you to go out and do great things in your own after school program.
Thank you for checking out that presentation to the California After School Network. Now, if you enjoyed this new approach to inspiring the next generation to love learning about science and technology, then please like and share this video. And if you didn't like it, please tell me why in the comments below. We've got a lot more stuff coming your way, so please don't forget to subscribe. Till next time, I'm Dr. Shawn. Now go forth and do great things.